All right, what's up? Proverbs chapter 17 Bible study. Welcome back for everybody who's been rocking with me on this journey. We are on chapter 17, y'all. Chapter 17. We are making some leeway on this Bible study. And today is a good one, just like all the other days have been. And I'm eager to get into this one with you guys. For those who are just tuning in, who maybe haven't seen any of my previous videos, I am doing the Book of Proverbs. The Book of Proverbs has 31 chapters. We're doing one chapter a day, so that's essentially 31 days. Although I have skipped a couple of days, so although we are on chapter 17, this is technically day 20 of this journey. Um, we've been You can go back and check out the other chapters on my TikTok or on my YouTube channel. I did record them. I am still working to get them all uploaded. But I have them all uploaded, and you guys will be able to go back and watch the previous chapters. But today we're going to go over chapter 17. And chapter 17 continues in the same process as the other chapters. For those who did have been following, we started off, chapter one through chapter 10, or chapter 1 through chapter 9 of Proverbs are letters. Solomon, King Solomon, wisest man that we know of according to the Bible, right? He wrote the book of Proverbs. The first nine chapters were letters that he wrote to his son. We're assuming that was the only person that he was writing to, but because he's in a lot of them, he said, "My son." Once we get to chapter 10 through 22, we see a switch. So the Proverbs go from being letters to being essentially little one-liners for the most part of wisdom. So I like to call them little nuggets of wisdom. So we're going through the nuggets of wisdom right now, and there's a lot of them. In this chapter, I think today we have about 28 verses that we're going to get through, but a lot of good information in these 28 verses. So yeah, yesterday we went over a lot. I'm not going to give a full recap because I don't want to make this video too long, since we're almost at 5 o'clock. So with that being said, I'm going to open up with a prayer, and then I am going to get started. So just give me a brief second. Lord, we just ask that you will open our minds, our hearts, our spirits, Lord, to receive this information that we're about to go over. Lord, I pray that the that the audience is able to receive this information and find practical use for it in their day-to-day lives. Lord, I ask that you um, Lord, that you use me as a vessel to speak these words, Lord, and allow it to only be your word that is spoken, Lord, so that the truth may be revealed to those who do not know the truth. We thank you and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all. Um, we're going to move on into this, right? So, the great thing about Proverbs chapter 17, verse 1 is that it really starts off with a punch. The first verse of this chapter is, "Better is a dry morsel with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife." Yesterday, um, we had a verse that said something very similar, right? Said that it was better to eat where there was love than to feast where there was it was better to have herbs as dinner with love than it was to have a feast with the wicked or with hatred. And I think that's a very good statement to start off with. Earlier today or yesterday, Thursday, my wife and I did another small group that we do is a discipleship small group where we go over the book called the Purple Book, this book here. And during that small group last night, one of the gentlemen was talking about a lady that he saw. I think he saw on the TV show. She was doing an interview, and she was saying that she would rather stay married to her husband, who provides and pays all the bills, rather than and rather she would rather stay in a relationship where the person paid all the bills and provided than to be somewhere where there was love. Like even though in the place where where there's provision, maybe there isn't love. And I was like, that's kind of crazy because that's kind of how some people are, right? Because there's something that attracts us to a location, we would stay and we would stay around people that are not good for us because we want to partake of the feast, right? So that's kind of what this is saying. It's better. It better is a dry morsel, right? The crazy thing is that first off, dry. Nobody wants anything dry. Anybody want a dry biscuit or a dry piece of chicken? Like this is saying better is a small piece of something dry because a morsel is small, right? A morsel is like a crumb. It's better to have a dry crumb in the quiet than to have a house full of feasting, a whole smorgasbord of food, but there's fighting and strife and uh hatred going on, right? You're full but surrounded by hate. We don't want that. So I thought that was a really good way that it started off because it pretty much starts it off with care for the company that we keep, right? Verse 2 says, a servant who deals wisely will rule over a son who acts shamefully, and will share the inheritance as one of the brothers, right? So this is such a crazy, um, it's a crazy thought, but it's so true. A servant who deals wisely will rule over a son who acts shamefully. Like who wants to leave something that they worked hard for to someone who is going to bring shame to that endeavor, right? There's I remember in I think it was Abraham prays and he talks about how Eleazar was the only person that he had to give an inheritance to, and God told him that he would, fulfill his promise to him and that he would actually leave an inheritance to a child that came from his own loins. But if you think about, with Joseph, Joseph Joseph had a lot of brothers who probably would not have received an inheritance, based off of their performance. Um, but we don't want to be the person who, I mean, you're in the family, but don't get an inheritance. Like the servant got the inheritance because they were able to outperform you. Verse 3. Verse 3 says, the the crib the crucible is for silver and the furnace is for gold, and the Lord tests hearts. Um, a furnace for gold is like the furnace is used to proof the gold. Like you melt the gold down and then you would clean all the impurities off. You skim the impurities off of the gold. Same thing with silver. You melt it down and then you skim off the impurities. As you heat it up, the heat makes the impurities rise to the top and then you skim them off. And that's what we do to test gold and silver to see what the purity of it is, right? So this is saying that the same way that we test silver and gold to figure out what the purity of the silver and gold is, the Lord tests our heart to see what the purity of our heart is. And remember, yesterday it said that the Lord sees the heart. Let me see what that was said. One second. Like we there's several times where it tells us that the Lord um sees what's in our heart. Give me a second, I will find it. It was I always do such a hard job at finding the verses I'm looking for when I'm looking back. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm looking for it in the moment. But well, I mean, we had chapter 16, verse 9, a man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his step. We know that, right? Verse 5 of yesterday, chapter 16 said, everyone proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Like, how can it be an abomination to the Lord unless the Lord is looking at the heart, right? So the Lord tests hearts the same way that we proof gold and silver to make sure to remove the impurities and to text for to check to see how pure it is. The Lord checks to see how pure we are, the intentions behind the actions that we do. Remember yesterday we talked about the fact that we can do nice things because we have ulterior motives, or we can do things that we're supposed to do because it's part of that Christian character that we're supposed to be portraying. We talked a lot. My wife and I talked about Christian character just the other day, and what that means is allowing the fruit of the spirit to show in your life, so that you're able to go into the world and be a beacon of light in the world. Verse 4 says, "An evildoer listens to wicked lips, and a liar gives ear to a mischievous tongue." In the New King James Version, it said it just a little bit different. It said, "An evildoer gives heed to false lips, and a liar listens eagerly to a spiteful tongue." Right? So I was thinking about that. Like, why does an evildoer listen to wicked lips? And why does it say that a liar gives ear to a mischievous tongue or to spiteful tongue? And it's because we have to be careful what we allow in, right? If I'm a person who does evil, then of course, oh, am I muted? Sorry. All right, how about that? How about now? Oh, all right, there we go. Sorry, microphone was dead, y'all. All right, I'm back now. All right. So, all right, sorry about that. Don't know how long I was muted, but I'm gonna pick back up at verse 4. If and I could go back and do the other ones if we missed out on that. But verse 4, verse 4 says, I'm assuming that I'm on now, right? Yep, I'm on. All right. So verse 4 says, "A evildoer listens to wicked lips, and a liar gives ear to a mischievous tongue." And I was thinking about that. What does that really mean? And I think what it's saying here is that a person who does evil, they only want to hear evil stuff. Like why you the things we allow into our minds dictate the things that come out of our mind and out of our mouth and out of our actions, right? So if I'm an evildoer, I'm listening to wicked lips. It already told us in previous chapters that the wicked is devising wicked plans, right? They're always scheming, always looking for a come up. So of course they're listening to wicked lips, because if I'm already devising evil plans, I got to go to where the evil plans are being talked about. And the liar who gives ear to mischievous tongue, and then like I said in the New King James, they called it spiteful tongue, right? A liar does give ear to spiteful tongue because they need something else to go and talk about, right? They need something else to go and lie about. They need other fuel, if you will. So a person who gossip likes to listen to the gossip, because the more that they listen to the gossip, the more gossip they have to go out and share. So that's just naturally how that works out. So this is letting us know that when this is this adds to the level, to the ideal of careful who you give all your information to, right? You're talking to people who are devising evil plans while you're talking to them about something good. They may be thinking about how I can cause some strife in this endeavor that you're working on. So that's something that we definitely have to take into consideration. Um, verse 5. We're on Proverbs 17, verse 5. "Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished." And it's the second time we done heard that somebody won't that something won't go unpunished. We heard that yesterday too. We heard it yesterday, and then in Proverbs 14, I'm gonna go to 14:31. 14:31 says, "He who oppressed the poor reproaches his master, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy, right? So once again, we're seeing that we whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. Like, is insulting to the Lord for us to mock the poor. We're created in the image of God. And if you look at the Ten Commandments tell us two things. They tell us to love God, serve people, right? We are to, and even Jesus told us to feed his sheep. So that's part of that servitude that we're called to provide, right? As disciples, as followers of Christ, that is what we're called to do. And how can I feed his sheep, or how can I serve the people of the Lord if I'm a mocker of those very same people? And if I'm a person who is glad at calamity, calamity is like trouble, down, distress, disaster, right? What type of person takes pleasure in calamity? Right? But this says that that person won't go unpunished. And it says he who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. This isn't even necessarily talking about the person who causes calamity. This is literally the person who rejoices over the calamity, right? Not the person who caused the calamity won't go unpunished either, but this is literally the person who rejoices over it. Like, maybe you didn't cause it, you didn't go out and cause harm to someone, but you're glad about it. You praise it. We praising people who are wicked and doing wicked things. We can't be those type of people. Even inside of the church, you're inside of the church and there's wickedness going on inside the church. You have to doubly stand firm on this, on not being in alignment with it. I guess is the way of putting it. Um, Verse 6: grandchildren are a crown for the aged, and the glory of children is their fathers. And then in New King James Version, it said, children's children are crowned to old men. So to the age, same thing to old men, old women, right? That's legacy, right? We'll leave an inheritance for our children's children is legacy. It's saying that grandchildren are crowned for us, right? Like, that's our legacy. Our name lives on through our grandchildren, through our children's children. And the glory of children is their father. Like, the things that we do have a weight on our children. There are people in this world who have great fortune because of the people who came before them, and there's also people in this world who have great misfortune because of the people who came before them. So that is a good way of looking at the glory of children is their fathers. Like, did the father leave them an inheritance? Because an inheritance for your children's children mean that the glory of the children is that the father did the job that he was supposed to do, right? um but on the same token, I told you guys the other day, like, I saw a documentary in Pakistan where there are literally generations of families that are working in these brick kerns or kern or whatever it is. It's like a brick furnace where they make bricks. And there's generations of kids that were literally born into this because their families still owed a debt from before they were even born, before their parents even got together in some cases. And these kids are still in servitude um, because of choices that were made before them. So it's like, that is a good way of looking at it. Like, the glory of the children is their father, but we have to make sure that we are eagerly setting up for them to have that glory. Verse 7 says, fine speech is not becoming to a fool, still less is false speech to a prince. Fine speech is not becoming to a fool. What this is saying is that foolish people don't have fine speech. They don't have noble talk, right? Most foolish people that you will come across, and the word foolish, again, I told you guys, I think we're all foolish at certain points in our lives. And I've been foolish at certain points in my life. I can't say that we're all foolish because I don't know everybody, right? That would be an overgeneralization of everybody. I've been a fool in my life, right? And at times of my life when I was being my most foolish, I did not have very much noble talk. I didn't provide very much positivity in my speech. Um, there were times where I was not very articulate because I was being foolish, right? It's funny how that works, but that is very true. It says, but still less is false speech to a prince, right? False speech to the prince is not good. So that means that false speech to a king is not good. But when you think of a prince, you think of someone who's educated, someone who's been taught how to speak, who's been taught how to articulate their words and how to get their ideals across, right? How to get people to understand our ideals. Because that's really what communication is all about. How do I get you to understand all of these random thoughts that are going on in my head? Well, I have to become intelligent enough to to formulate them into a sentence that you can interpret and then connect them to imagery and ideals that you can relate to, right? That's what this is saying. Like a fool doesn't do that, but the prince should focus on doing that. And there could be a foolish prince. There are foolish people of leadership. We talked about that yesterday. Like there are some people who are in leadership positions, but they don't possess leadership traits. And sometimes it's literally because they choose not to, not because they don't have the ability to. They choose not to, right? That's right, discernment. You're right. Verse 9 says, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Whoever covers an offense, right? When it's saying this is like whoever forgives, right? Whoever forgives an offense seeks love. When I'm seeking to show love, I am more forgiving of things that people do, right? When I am seeking to not show love, a person can step on my shoes and I'm ready to fight. When I'm seeking to show love, a person can crash into me. They can cause me money, and I won't even get mad about it because I'm looking to show love. It's easier to forgive when I'm looking to show love versus when I'm not looking to show love. It's easier to forgive when I'm feeling loved than when I'm not feeling loved, right? Um, so whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. The more you go and repeat something, the worse it gets, right? this this makes me think back to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16, where it goes through the things that the Lord finds to be an abomination, right? The things that he hates and the things that he finds to be an abomination. And in verse 19 of chapter 6 says, a false witness who speaks lies and one who sows discord amongst brethren, right? So when it's in chapter 17 verse 9, when it says, but he who repeats a matter separates close friend, that's the same as that person who's looking to sow discord amongst brothers, right? So uh we show love when we're able to cover an offense, when we're able to forgive an offense, when we're able to not be offended, right? The less offended we are, the less trouble we find ourselves in. I told you guys the other day, we see over and over again in the news where people get offended and it costs somebody their life. Literally, offense causes somebody their life. Somebody is mad that somebody stepped on somebody. Somebody's mad that somebody didn't go move fast enough at the red light. You cut me off at the red light. You didn't use your turn signal when you got over. Like little stuff offends us sometimes. And the more offendable we are, the more offended we get. But sometimes it's because we have a missed portion of love. I can leave out of my house, and if I leave out of my house feeling loved, the things that happen to me on my way to work don't bother me as much as if I leave out of my house already mad. If I leave out of my house already mad and not feeling loved, the person at the red light is already I'm already on 10. So they don't have to do a whole lot to put me into, red line ready to blow. But we learned that love covers a multitude of sins. Love covers a multitude of offenses. We've already learned that in previous proverbs. This is just repeating that over again. But then it's bringing it back to us to let us know that when we repeat stuff over and over again, you get offended by Bob at the water cooler at the vending machine, and then you go over to You go to another department and you got to tell them about what Bob did to you, and then you go somewhere else and you got to tell them about what Bob did to you. And it's like every time we go, we got to tell somebody what this person did to us. And it's like sometimes I want other people to be offended because I'm offended, right? I'm that's causing this, that's throwing discord though. I want you to be mad at this person because of what they did to me, because they did it to me, they're gonna do it to you, right? We're not supposed to do that though. That makes us gossipers, and that makes us people who are looking to cause strife rather than to bring about healing, right? Restitution. We want to be forgiven, but we don't want to forgive. That's what I see in this too. Like, for as many offenses as we want to be forgiven for, we should be eager to forgive others. Because there's stuff that I want the Lord to forgive me for doing that don't match anything that anybody has done to me. And if I want the Lord to forgive me, how can I not forgive others? Verse 10, chapter 17, verse 10. A rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding than 100 blows to a fool. And I think in this one said to the back of a fool. And nope, it did not. Okay, so 100 blows to a fool, right? Think about spanking. Yes, that's kind of what this is saying. I told you guys that I went to Thailand, or not Thailand, in Singapore. When I was in Singapore, one of the things that I found out leaving off the ship was that, and this is when I was in the Marines. So I was in the Marine Corps. I did a ship-based deployment, and we stopped in Singapore. During the time when we stopped in Singapore, I was under the age of 21. Technically, in Singapore, you could drink at 18, but on the ship, you still needed to be 21. I had every plan to go out and get drunk when I got to Singapore. When I got off the ship, I was gonna go out and I was gonna get drunk, right? It wasn't until I found out that the punishment for doing certain crimes in Singapore was being caned. For anybody who doesn't know what caning is when you literally get lashes across, you get whipped pretty much with a bamboo stick um across the back. And so let's say for theft, like if you steal something, you may get sentenced to 12 licks of the cane, and they would give you 6 licks, and then you would have to come back at a later date to get the other 6 because most people can't take 12 at a time. Matter of fact, most people pass out after the first 3. They have a doctor that comes in with smelling salts to wake you up so that you can get the other 3, right? So most people pass out about 3 to 4 licks in, and then they come wake you up and give you the other 2 to 3 licks, and then you got to come back later to get the other 6. And it's funny because it's like that's one of them countries where you get caught stealing one time, and you probably not stealing no more. I can only imagine getting beat across the back for stealing an apple or something, right? Now, what this is saying, it says, so verse 10 says, a rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding than 100 blows into a fool. We all know somebody foolish that no matter what happens, they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Not just the same thing, but I'm talking about like the exact same thing, right? Um, and this could be a whole bunch of just different scenarios, right? And it could be a bunch of different scenarios. There's always stuff that we do over and over again. I told y'all yesterday, like sin and temptation like when it refers to it as a snare. I was talking to my wife about this today, right? In our other small group, we was talking about when Jesus first came to the disciples and he told them to follow him, and he would make them fishermen of men. And then in the next verse it said that they immediately left behind their nets and followed Jesus, right? And I was thinking about it, they left behind their net, right? The net is a snare. The net doesn't kill fish, right? When you use a fishing net to catch fish, the net doesn't kill the fish. The net literally captures the fish and keeps them in one spot so that you can either come back and harvest them. But if they stay in that net for too long, they will eventually die, right? That's what snares do. A snare will capture you, but if you stay in there too long, eventually you die. So when it talks about temptation and sin being a snare, it's like the sin and the temptation doesn't necessarily kill you. It's not an instant death all the time, but you stay there too long, and it's a guaranteed death. You get what I'm saying? You stay in the trap too long, it's a guaranteed death. Even if it doesn't strangle you to death, you may starve to death in that trap. That's the same thing that sin does to us, right? It grabs onto us and it wants to keep on to it. It wants to hold on to us. So the fool, sometimes we're a fool because we haven't figured out a way to we haven't figured out how to get away from the sin, right? And the only way to get away from the sin is trust in the Lord and allow the Lord to order our steps so that we can get away from the sin. But sometimes in our foolishness, we don't even know that that's the option that we need to take. A It says a rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding. Like that's like a marinade. Like when we're seeking understanding and a person corrects us, it's not just surface, right? A person can correct us. Like say you're an employee, you're a manager at a job, and corporate comes down and they tell you, hey, we need you to work on your communication with your employees because somebody filed a complaint, said that you were harsh with your words, right? The wise person of understanding is going to take that information from the manager and they're going to say, okay, let me work on my words with them because somebody started complaining. But it doesn't just stop there. So now that I know that I'm being harsh with my words, maybe when I go home I can think the same thing, like, oh, if my employee said that I've been harsh with my words, then maybe I need to make sure I'm not being harsh with my words with my wife. Maybe I need to make sure I'm not being harsh with my words with my kids. Maybe I need to make sure I'm not being harsh with my words with my other family members, with my friends, with the other people in my community, with my church family, right? It goes deeper because we start to be when you have understanding, you start to realize that these things that we have to work on as Christians, they are a part of every part of our life, right? So rebuke literally does go deeper with a person of understanding because when you have the more understanding we have, the more we seek to use the information that we get in more arenas of our life, right? But a fool doesn't. A fool just thinks that this is just for this, right? I can watch my words when I'm in this environment, but when I'm in this environment, I can go back to doing whatever I want to do and act and however I want to do, right? The fool think that when I'm in church, I can act like I'm in church, but as soon as I leave out of church, I can start acting a fool again because it doesn't matter. It's like, no, we're supposed to carry our way with we're ambassadors, right? Everywhere we go, we're supposed to carry ourselves as if we're ambassadors for Christ, not just when we're at church, not just when we're in a church environment, but that's the difference between us having that understanding and us being foolish, right? And that's a spiritual maturity thing too. We have to have some spiritual maturity. I was going over Hebrews, and Hebrews said that by now you should be teachers. And I was like, man, that's spiritual maturity. Like by now you should be teachers. Like at some point you learn enough to where you're supposed to be teaching others. At some point we're supposed to be setting the example for other people. So that means that we're always supposed to be on our P's and Q's, but we never know who's watching us, right? That's right, no milk. I don't even drink milk no more. I don't even eat cereal. So I don't like my son was like, oh, we need milk. I was like, bro, I put milk in the coffee. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, give me some meat. Um, so verse 11 says, "An evil man seeks only rebellion, and a cruel messenger will be sent against him." Y'all, and I'm gonna go to the New King James version because it said it a little bit different. It says, "An evil man seeks only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger will be sent against him." Said the same actually. Um, rebellion rebellion is like that's willful defiance. You know, like to rebel against something, like that's intentional, right? There's It's one thing for us to transgress or for us to overstep a boundary when we don't know it's a boundary, right? It's one thing for you to stumble onto my property when I don't have the no trespassing sign up, right? But when I got no trespassing signs up all over the place, I got a gate, all these other things, like now you're just being defiant to what you saw. Like that's what this is saying, right? The evil man seeks only rebellion. They seek only to be defiant. You ever met somebody? And again, not calling nobody evil, right? I'm not calling the person evil. We're talking about actions, right? An evil man, a person who, do you know anyone who only seeks rebellion, right? Everything that they do, they trying to go against what they're supposed to be doing for no reason. It's not gonna benefit them in any way, it's not gonna benefit others in any way. It's just because I can, because I can be rebellious, I'm gonna be rebellious. You're right, and some of it is principalities. I believe in that 100% wholeheartedly. Sometimes it's not the person. Sometimes it's what's attached to the person. It's the monkey. You know, they say the monkey on your back. The monkey on your back is a snare too. Think about it. It's something on your back holding on for dear life. You can't get it off because you can't see it, and it's holding on and trying to direct you, like Ratatouille. You know, with the little rat on his head guiding him around. That's what principalities do. Have people out here acting all kinds of crazy. Um, but yeah, so the evil man seeks only rebellion, willful defiance. It says, in a cruel messenger, somebody more horrible than them would be sent against them. This is a cruel messenger. I told y'all the other day, the messenger normally came before the warriors did, right? So like I think yesterday it talked about how the king, like the wrath of the king, and the king would send out a messenger. Say the king would send a messenger out to a town, let's say a far off town. He would send a messenger out, and the messenger's job was to go out and tell them, like, hey, you didn't pay your taxes. Make sure you pay your taxes because the army is coming and they're like one day ride behind me. So you can either pay the messenger what you owe them, or you can send back message to the king, and maybe the messenger, as they're passing back by the army, could tell them to turn around and not go and destroy your town because the messenger got what they wanted. But people used to kill the messenger. The messenger shows up to give the message, say, hey, the king said that you guys need to pay your taxes, and they say, oh, well, I'm just gonna kill the messenger. And if the messenger's dead, then the king can't come back to get taxes, right? This is a cruel messenger would be sent before against them, though. Not just a regular messenger, right? This messenger, like when you evil and you seek only rebellion, the only person I can send to you to get a rise out of you is an evil messenger. I can't send somebody nice, right? This is an evil person who only seeks rebellion. They enjoy being defiant. You can't send the nice person who's just gonna come out there and be nice with them. Nope, you're gonna send an enforcer. That's what this is. The cruel messenger would be sent after them, right? People who do crimes, what do we do? They send the cruel messenger after them, right? You send the most rough, tough cops that you got, the guys who like kicking doors in, the guys who itching for a shootout. I'm just saying, like, in right, wrong, impartial, right? That's who you send though. Like who you not sending is Bob the meter maid to go out to, deliver a warrant to the person who got violent crimes, a long rap sheet of violent crimes, right? You're gonna send SWAT, you're gonna send the knock the door down and ask question later type of people when you're dealing with a person who is the evildoer. That's what this is telling us. The Lord already told us this. And that's verse 11. Verse 12 says, let a man meet a she bear robbed of her cubs rather than a fool in his folly. And this is a mother bear is what King James said. So it's better for us to come across a bear that has lost her cubs. Imagine how enraged a bear that has lost her cubs would be if she came across you and thought you had her cubs. But it's saying it's better for us to come across a cub looking for her bear than it for her baby cubs than it is for us to be in the presence of fools in their folly. Right? I tell my kids this all the time. It's one thing for you to hang out with your friends, but you should not hang out with your friends in their sin, right? Hang out with your friends. Yes, I know you got friends that are doing different things that we don't do in this house, right? Hang out with your friend, be a friend to your friend, help to disciple your friend, but you don't get to hang out with your friend in their sin. That's where we get it wrong at, right? We want to hang out with people in their sin. Can't hang out with you in your sin, because the more I hang out with you in your sin, the more likely your sin rub off on me. That's what this is telling us. It's better for us to get mauled by a bear than to hang out with people in their sin. That's crazy. It's better for us to get mauled by a bear. Because but when you think about it like this though, right? I don't know. TikTok might not TikTok and YouTube too might not like me saying this, but I'd rather die that way, getting mauled by the bear, than to die in sin and go to hell. I can get mauled by the bear, still go to heaven. But if I'm out with the fool, participating in the fool's folly, like that's a worse death. It may not seem like it, but it is. That's what this is telling us, right? I can only imagine how mad a mother bear is when she's lost a cub. I've seen it on TV, on Animal Planet, but I never want to come across a bear that's looking for her cubs. I've seen the videos of people getting mauled. I've seen the recovery that comes from that. But the Bible is telling us it's better for us to get mauled by a bear, better to get ripped apart by a bear than to be caught with fools in their folly. Don't get caught in somebody else's sin, right? It's like when people say, I'm gonna go with my friend cause so that they don't do nothing stupid. No, you need to make your friends stay with you so they don't do nothing stupid. You're gonna go with your friend to the place where they plan on doing something stupid to make sure that they don't do something stupid. All you doing is dragging yourself into the crosshairs with them, right? No, I'm gonna need you to stay here with me so you don't do nothing stupid. We can stay out of stupid, but we can't go to stupid and then I'm trying to keep you out of it. We at the doorway. I'm trying to keep you out of the doorway of a place that we could have just not came to. You get what I'm saying? Verse 13. 13 says, if anyone returns evil for good, evil will not depart his house. Right? Um, and New King James says, whoever rewards evil for good, right? So return, like return on investment. Whoever rewards evil for good. Y'all, we living in a world right now that does this, right? Where we label things that are evil as good. Told y'all the other day, not only in America, because it happens all over the place. We live in a world where a person can literally poison the community, they can literally kill people in the community, and then we will call them a good person because they gave out backpacks to the kids for when school went back in, because they gave out some turkeys on Thanksgiving, right? Um, that's not this is telling us that that's not right. If anyone returns evil for good, evil will not depart their house. When you start labeling evil as good, evil moves in on you. It's saying it won't depart your house. It done made itself at home in your house. Evil has set up shop because we calling it good when it's supposed to be labeled as evil. Try this on, right? Because again, we live in a world where everybody wants to tell you how to be a Christian even when they're not Christians, right? So the first thing that people who are not Christians will tell you is, oh, well, you're not supposed to judge. I know the Bible says you're not supposed to judge. The Bible tells me not to judge people because I don't know their heart, right? Only God knows the heart. The Bible tells me not to judge people. I can judge the sin, the actions, the fruit. Because if I'm not supposed to look for the fruit, then he wouldn't have said that we would know them by their fruit, right? So if I'm looking at bad fruit calling it good, I'm gonna keep the bad fruit in my house. If I got a bunch of bananas sitting on my table, and every time I look at the bananas, they getting browner and browner and softer, but I keep on saying, "Oh no, they still good. Oh no, they still good." The bananas will sit on my table until they turn into a dark little mush, right? You ever had something sitting in your refrigerator that you keep on calling good, but you know it's bad? Should have thrown it away. And what does it do? It sit in the refrigerator until somebody eventually throws it away. The same thing. When we start labeling evil as good, it hangs around because we say, "Oh no, that's just my friend. That's just my friend Bob. He good." And Bob Bob out here beating people up and robbing old ladies. You know what I'm saying? Bob ain't good. He ain't a good guy just because he come and cut your grass when he out here knocking Miss Susie over the head for her purse. You get what I'm saying? He's just your friend, but your friend's still wicked. Your friend gonna stay in your house. All right, let's move on, y'all. Verse 14. Verse 14 says, the beginning of strife is like letting out water. This one right here, I was thinking about earlier. The beginning of strife is like letting out water. So quit before the quarrel breaks out, right? So I was thinking about this. What does that mean? It's like letting out water. Anybody ever plug something up and then when you like think about your cooler, right? When you put ice in the cooler and all the water melt, all the ice melt. When you pull the plug, the water just immediately start rushing out. It doesn't trickle out. It doesn't like start a little bit and then it kind of comes out. As soon as you pull the plug out, the water just full as of a stream as it can come out. The water's gonna come out, right? That's what this is saying. When you open, it's like opening up the floodgates, opening up the dam, and letting the water rush through, right? The beginning of strife is so fast that we can start. That's the reason why fights go so quick, right? You could be standing in the checkout line at Walmart, somebody bump into somebody, and a fight start just like that, because the beginning of strife is like letting out water. It just happens instantly. Before you know it, you wet. You like the balloon popped, and the water just got on you. You just wet. It just happened instantly. That's what strife is like. That like anger happens instantly. People go from good mood to I'm so mad at you that I want to put hands on you. I want to cause bodily harm to you in an instant. The same way letting out water. So it's saying it's better for us to stop the quarrel before it even starts. It's easier to stop it before it starts than it is to stop it after it starts, right? Think flood again. um when they had those last big floods in Florida, I remember that they put the floodgates up around Tampa General Hospital, right, to keep the water from flooding the lower levels of the hospital. And they had to get out there and put those dams up well before the flood water started coming in, because once the flood water started coming in, it was going to be impossible for them to put these floodgates up. It's better for us to stop it before it starts, right? Is same thing for us when it comes down to anger, bitterness, even sadness, even mental illness. Like I told you guys the other day, most mental illness is because we're not measuring ourselves against the Bible and against the word and what the word says, right? We start feeling like we're less than, is because we're not looking at the word. The word says all things through Christ who strengthens me. So when I feel like I'm less than, it means I need to ask Christ to strengthen me more, right? And I can begin to have more peace, more understanding, more knowledge, more wisdom, right? um but everything, I love how this put it, because it's like the next time you see something about to stir up, next time you wake up and your wife giving you the silent treatment, it's better to stop that quarrel before it breaks out. The next time you see your kids starting to get upset about something, it's better to stop that quarrel before it breaks out. Your kid getting ready to leave out of the house in the morning, you see they're already in a bad mood, you better stop them, tell them you love them, give them a hug so they can leave out of the house in a good mood, because all it takes is, again, like letting out water. Now the bus driver done said something to them and they don't blew up on the bus, and now they in trouble, and it's like, man, I should have stopped that quarrel before it even broke out, right? There's so many different situations where we can do this. um Even with gossip, sometimes stopping the quarrel is just stopping the gossip. I'm gonna stop this quarrel before it even break out. Before you come and tell me anything about anybody, I'm not trying to hear that today, right? I'm just gonna stop it before it break out. Before you come and tell me something to try to get me mad at this other person because you mad at them, I'm just gonna stop it before it breaks out. Let me not even get to that point. Let me not get offended. Verse 15. So we're on Proverbs 17:15, y'all. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both like an abomination to the Lord. Woo. Y'all know that abomination word is a big word, right? When the Lord said it's an abomination, like abomination is not, that's not just dislike. Like I told y'all, that's not just dislike. All right. That's hate with some extra hate on top of it when it's an abomination. Abomination means that it's distasteful. I despise it. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to smell it. I told y'all salmon croquettes. I like salmon. I can eat salmon. I've been eating salmon for the last couple of weeks, right? Because I've been only eating fish really, and I can eat salmon all the time. I hate salmon patties. It's an abomination to me. Soon as somebody and y'all might eat it. I used to eat them as a kid. My grandma cooked them one time. The smell made me sick. Ever since then, I can't even stand the smell of those little salmon croquette patties or salmon patties, whatever you call them, right? They are abomination to me, right? So when I see this, it's like I have a image of how this is when the Lord said that something is an abomination to him. It's like I don't want to smell it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to touch it, I don't want to know where around me, not in the vicinity of me. It's saying that he who justifies the wicked. Again, when we see wicked being done, but then we try to make it seem like, oh, it's okay. Oh, well, the earlier in the Proverbs, it actually told us that a man who steals because he's hungry still has to pay back sevenfold. You stole for a reason that made sense, but you're still stealing. still got to pay back sevenfold. Still got to get them 12 canes, them 12 licks of the cane. If you're in Singapore, there's some countries where they cut your hand off still for stealing. So I can imagine you ain't stealing no more than twice, right? Um, unless you're a real big fool. But it says, he who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, right? So that's two different people. You got one person who's looking at somebody who's wicked and they're saying that person is a great person. They're such a good person, right? Yeah, they kill some people and they sell some drugs. They selling fentanyl and all this other stuff, but they still a very good person, got a great heart. They gave Miss Johnson a new car the other day, right? But then you got somebody else who is condemning the righteous. You got a person out here who is being righteous, who is living upright, living for the Lord, spreading the word, and you're condemning them, saying that they're a horrible person. See that any? Y'all see that any going on in the world right now? I see it going on in the world right now, right? And so now we know that that's an abomination to the Lord. That is greater than hate. The Lord more than hates the person who justified the wicked, who justified wickedness, who takes wicked behavior and makes it out to be good, right? I'm gonna say it. Y'all know the guy who killed the insurance guy a couple of months back, right? This man them got a whole bunch of money that people been sending to him for a wicked deed. It was a wicked deed. No matter how you try to cut it, slice it, dress it up, put icing on it, it was a wicked deed. He took a life, right? People have made him out to be some kind of Robin Hood, though. Like, bro, that is justifying wickedness. Don't be a part of that, because it just told us that the Lord finds it to be an abomination. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. I ain't gonna go no deeper into that. But that is an example of it, right? We see it in this world today. Verse 16: why should a fool have money in his hand to buy wisdom, but he has no sense? Y'all. And I'm gonna read that in the New King James too. New King James said, why is there in the hands of a fool the price, the purchase price for wisdom, since he has no heart for it? Y'all, okay. So remember the heart. Yesterday we talked about the heart and how we got to watch our heart posture, because the Bible done told us so many different times, like, the heart is the spring of life, right? And our mouth is the fountain of life. What flows from the heart, just like a spring, what flows from the spring flows into your well. When you go and get water out of the well, out of the fountain, it came from the spring. The heart is the spring pumping that. So what comes out of our mouth, what comes out of our actions, is a direct result of our heart posture. Somebody who's cussing and hate, not somebody who's cussing and hateful all the time, is coming out of their heart. That the root is coming up out of their heart, right? We think that it comes out of the mind. The mind that plays a part in it, but the heart controls the mind. Even the heart, the things that I love, I override what my brain tells me. My brain can tell me that something is bad for me all day, every day. But when I love it, I ignore the warning signals that are coming from my brain, right? The heart is where it comes from. That's why it says that the Lord knows the heart. It didn't say that the Lord knows our thoughts, and it does tell us that he knows our thoughts, but it's the heart posture, because that's where it all comes. That's the feeling, right? When I get angry, where do you feel it at first? In your heart. Your heart start beating all fast, your blood pressure go up, start pounding, right? When you feel happy, where do you feel it first? In your heart. Your heart start fluttering, you start getting the butterfly flies, right? It is always from here, right? So it's funny that this fool has the purchase price for wisdom, but he doesn't have a heart for it. That's crazy, right? um the heart, the mind, or understanding. It says the core of decision making in the Hebrew thought process. That's the reason why we're on that all the time, because in the Hebrew understood that the heart controls the mind, right? We can buy books, we can pay for seminars, we can pay for training, we can pay for one-on-one mentorship. We can pay for all these different things. I'm a real estate investor, right? I pay for classes. We Vonnie and I was just talking about setting up a trust. We paid for a course that had came with all the stuff for us to set up a trust for real estate trusts. We can pay for all these things, but the key to wisdom is actually getting out and doing the thing, right? Says we are to get knowledge. And with that knowledge, we are to get understanding. With all the knowledge that we get, we have to get understanding. It's not until we get both the knowledge and the understanding that we then start to have some wisdom. The wisdom requires us to actually apply the things that we are learning, right? So the fool is trying to buy wisdom. He's trying to buy wisdom. That's what this is saying. He has the purchase price for wisdom. He already has knowledge and understanding, right? This is the person who already has the knowledge. They already got the understanding. That's the purchase price for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. First, well, in the fear of the Lord, right? But they don't have the fear of the Lord. They got the purchase price, but they ain't got the heart for it. Because the fear of the Lord comes from here, right? They ain't got the heart for it. They got the purchase price. They got knowledge. They got wisdom. I mean, they got knowledge and they got understanding. They know the things they're supposed to do. They even know why they're supposed to do it, but they're not willing to do it so that they can have the wisdom. That's what this is telling us. That's why they don't have the heart for it, because they're not willing to do the things that they need to do to actually have the wisdom. They want to be able to just pay for it. But that's the society we live in too, right? I just want to pay for it. I don't want to learn it. Like, I want to pay for the college degree, but I don't want to take the classes. Just give me the title. Just put doctor on my. I'm gonna pay you a couple of $100 so I can a couple of $1,000 so I can get doctor on my lab coat. But I don't want to have to go to none of the classes, and I don't want to have to do any of the triaging and all that other stuff. I just want the title. But that's what we do, right? That's what some people try to do. And I just love that it's telling us that that's a foolish person. A foolish person despises wisdom and instruction, because in order for us to have the wisdom, we have to go through the process to get it, right? I have knowledge, I have understanding, but sometimes the knowledge and understanding requires me to be able to take reproof. We know that the scoffer or the fool doesn't like reproof. They don't like to be corrected. They want to do it their way only, right? So it's very cool the way it said that, because again, this is a person who has the price. They have the purchase price for wisdom, but don't have the heart for it. Is there anything that we don't have the heart for, right? Because anything we don't have the heart for, we can pray that the Lord can help to 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 get our heart right for it, right? The Lord can soften hearts. The Lord can harden hearts. It's in the Bible. He hardened hearts. He softened hearts. He will give you favor in somebody else's mind, in somebody else's heart. Right? So if the Lord can do that, if he can harden the heart, if he can soften the heart, if he can give favor in somebody else's heart, then when we don't have the heart for it, he can give us the heart for it. You get what I'm saying? We don't have to be this fool for sure. Verse 17. A friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. That's pretty good. A friend loves at all times. Um, I got friends that are like brothers to me, especially a lot of my Marine Corps friends. We've been through some stuff, right? So when it says that a brother is born for adversity, look, some of my closest friends, my brothers, we've done been through some adversities. I'm talking about some wartime adversities, like, we done been in the trenches together. I'm talking about some trouble adversities. We done been in some folly together that we shouldn't have been in, and thank God, he kept us to repent and be able to recover from that. But this is a very true statement. A friend loves all the time. When you're a friend, you do love all the time, right? Um, you love your friend. Again, we love our friend. If I call you a friend, I'll even love you through something negative that I know you did. I love you. I don't love what you did, and I'm still here to help you. And we're gonna try to get past this, right? That's what a true friend does. but it's saying a brother is born for adversity. Like I want that type of friend that's gonna be with me through some adversity, right? Through my hard times. Don't just be around me when it's good times, right? And it's even cooler to think about because sometimes you think family is gonna be there more, but there are friends that's gonna be there more because the adversity can have a has a stronger bond. It's like my church family. You know, my church family I have a close bond with more so than some of my by relation families. You know, my by blood family, if you will. Um, but it's because of that because we have something in that adversity. We have something in common. You know, we have a common thing that we overcame. Oh, you're so right. You said when we pray for things like patience, expect to hit red lights at in a rush. Yep. When you pray for we was talking about this the other day. You know, you prayed to for the Lord to work on your anger problems. He gonna send somebody to test it. But you know, there's no testimony without the test. The test of money. We have to when we ask for something, the Lord tests it. That goes back to what it said in the first one, right? In the very first not the first one. And when it talked about the refining, it said the refining pot is for silver and the furnace is for gold, but the Lord tests the heart, right? That's what you're talking about right there. When you pray for the Lord to increase patience in your heart, then He gonna test that heart to make sure that it's pure, right? Um, I love that. Good. That's a good comment, man. All right, we're gonna move on. Move on. Verse 18, one who lacks sense gives a pledge and puts up security in the presence of his neighbor. So I'm going to have to go back for this one because I think in Proverbs chapter 2, we went over this one. Let me see. So I think it was in Proverbs chapter 2 where it pretty much tells us not to co-sign for a stranger. Maybe it's in 3. Let me go to 3. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna use the trusty old Google. Um, I'm gonna find it. All right. So this verse says, "One who lacks sense gives a pledge and puts up security in the presence of his neighbor." But in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 1 through 5. So let's go over to Proverbs chapter 6, 1 through 5. Y'all, I love the internet, the fact that we can Google stuff. Listen, Bible study should be Bible study can be easier for anybody because we have the internet, y'all. Like the internet help us understand so many different things. So so I'm gonna read 1 through 5. So Proverbs chapter 6, verse 1 through 5 kind of goes in with this one. So I'm gonna read those real quick. It says, "My son, if you become surety for your friend, if you have if you have shaken hands and pledged for a stranger, you are snared by the words of your mouth. You are taken by the words of your mouth. So do this, my son, and deliver yourself. For you have come into the hands of your friend. Go and humble yourself. Plead with your friend. Give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hands of a hunter, and like a bird from the hands of a fowler." Right? So in Proverbs chapter 6, it tells us not to be co-signing on stuff. it tells us not to be co-signing on stuff. And depending on the translation you read, this one it says, um, if you become surety to a friend, or if you have shaken hands and pledged for a stranger, a person you don't know, right? And I was when I did chapter 6, I broke down the fact that this isn't just a stranger, like a person you don't know. You got family members who are the stranger that this is referring to. You got a family member that's a stranger because they're not trying to follow Christ. They're not trying to live for Christ. They're happily living a worldly life. And if you go co-signing for somebody, you go co-signing for your family member, you know a liar. You know Steve a liar. Steve been a liar his whole life. And you're gonna be a fool to go out and put your name, your reputation on the line for Steve, who you already know is a liar. That's why they're a stranger to you, right? You go and put your name on the line for Tom, who you know is a cheater. He cheats. He cheats at everything. He cheats at poker. He cheats at dominoes. He cheats at spades. You get what I'm saying? He cheats in a rock paper scissors competition. You know he a cheater. Don't you? But you would be a fool if you went and co-signed for your cheating friend. You get what I'm saying? That's what this is saying. One who lacks sense. We lack sense when we give a pledge or pull up security in the presence of our neighbors. Now we don't went out here and co-sign for somebody because we don't want to hurt their feelings in front of our neighbors. Now remember, our neighbors, our neighbors in this sense, like our brothers and our sisters, that's the fam, that's our godly family, right? Our family in Christ. The neighbors are just the other people, right? There are non-believers who will see us as Christians acting like a fool and say and look at us and say, look at them foolish Christians over there. I hear it all the time. And sometimes people don't know what they're talking about, but sometimes they are dead on. Sometimes we are the saints acting foolish. You know what I'm saying? We the teachers acting foolish. You know, and we can't be that way. We can't be out here putting our reputation on stuff that we don't understand, on people that we don't know, people who don't align with what we align it with, right? You give money to somebody for a cause and you don't know what the cause is even is. You don't know what you funding, right? Um, so that's a really good one. Really good one. Don't be co-signing on stuff without getting the details and knowing who you co-signing with. Verse 19. Whoever loves transgression loves strife. He who makes his door high seek destruction. Right? Let's go and break this one down. First off, high doors, right? That's a metaphor for pride in itself and showing off. Think about a grand house. I love looking at the houses where um the front has like the big arch, and normally they have like 20 steps that go up to the front door, and the door is massive. You know, you've seen places where the door is like 10, 20, 30 feet off, not 30 feet, but they're like 10, 12 feet tall, foot tall doors that open up. It's just something about that makes it feel grand, right? It feels like important when you walk into a house that's like that. So that's what this is saying. Like when we make our doors high, when we set ourselves up on a pedestal, when we think we're better than what we are, right? That we're seeking destruction. We learned that in other chapters as well. But the important part of that, this verse is whoever seeks transgression loves strife. Whoever seeks transgression, right? There's a person who seeks to cross the line because they want to fight. There's people, and again, I know some. I know some. Now I'm not a fighter, okay? Never really been a fighter. Even in the Marine Corps, like I'm not a fighter. I don't fight because I like to fight. I will fight because I have to fight. Now I ain't no loser. I will put up a fight, but I don't like to fight, if that makes sense. But this person, the transgression, the person who loves transgression. This is the person who loves to come in and step on your Nikes. The person who love to come in and eat your food out of the refrigerator. Person who love to park in your parking spot when you the employee of the month. They love strife. They know what they was doing was wrong. They knew they was going to cross the line, but they don't care. They want you to come say something. You ever meet somebody say, I want them to come say something? That's that person. Whoever loves transgression loves strife. He who set his door high seeks destruction, right? A person who loves transgression and loves to fight, they won't have no good relationships, right? They think they love transgression, and for you to feel that way, for a person to feel like I want you to come say something to me, they feel better than everybody else, right? So they already gonna put their door up high, and destruction comes to everything that they touch. Poor relationships, poor business endeavors, poor work relationships. A person who loves transgression can't have good relationships. It's hard for them to have a good relationship. Either if a person who loves transgression has a good relationship, it's because that relationship is with somebody who's a glutton for being abused. Because a person who loves transgression, they're only seeking to abuse the people they're around, right? Looking to take advantage of people, looking to start a fight. I know people who are like that. You can't say hello without them saying. When you say, "Oh, beautiful day today," beautiful to who? You know what I mean? Beautiful for you. It's like we ain't gotta go through that. You ain't like, but there are people who are like that. There are transgressors. There are people who just like crossing the line. You know, habitual line steppers, as they call it. Verse 20: A man of crooked heart does not discover good, and one with a dishonest tongue falls into calamity. There go that calamity again, right? That disaster. First off, when you call it calamity, calamity just sounds worse. Like disaster sounds like a disaster, right? Disaster sounds like something that was unavoidable. We say, "Oh, it was a natural disaster. I couldn't," like even when it was a unnatural disaster, it still doesn't seem the same as a calamity. Like if somebody say, "Oh, they were met with calamity," you be like, "What in the world? Like what kind of horrible thing happened to them?" A crooked man, this says, a man of crooked heart. Even that, how does a man have a crooked heart, right? Twicked, you got that means that person has crooked motives, they got deceitful intent, right? Go back to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16, right? So a man of crooked heart will not discover good. Over here in Proverbs chapter 6, the Lord tells us, verse 18, one of the things that the Lord finds to be an abomination is a heart that devises wicked plans. The man with the crooked heart that doesn't find good is the same man whose heart is devising wicked plans, right? And his feet are swift to run towards evil. The person whose feet are swift to run towards evil, that's this man and the one who we was just talking about, who always wanted to transgress against people, right? But a man with a crooked heart, the person with the twisted motive, who's always devising evil plans against people, they're always looking to get over on somebody, always looking to scheme somebody, always trying to figure out how they can get more than their fair share, right? If we're supposed to split this 50-50, they done figured out 5 ways to get an extra 5% out of you, right? That's the person with the crooked heart. And it says that they will discover no good. Even the good that they think they got won't be good, right? In the long term. I told y'all a couple of days ago when we was talking. I always think that it's ironic that people will get into these lives, like into a life of certain crime that they can't even enjoy, right? You the biggest drug dealer in Chicago, but you can't leave Chicago because you're afraid somebody gonna come over and take over your operation. I watched a lot of documentaries. I told y'all I watched these documentaries because I always thought it was fascinating, you know, the thought process behind the mobster. And then I started finding out that the mobsters, most of them didn't even leave New York, New Jersey, really. And when they did, they would have like very limited places that they would go. And it was like they were afraid that people were going to take them out. They was afraid that somebody was going to take their territory. They was afraid that the FBI was going to come in and kick their doors in while they were gone. So it's like you've done all this crookedness, right? You, the man with the crooked heart who devised these crooked plans, but no good came from it because you can't even enjoy it in peace. You can't even indulge in the things that you've earned. It looked like it took from the outside, but it's not for real, you know. And that's what this is kind of telling us. And the one who with a dishonest tongue falls into calamity. A person who's lying all the time, who everything coming out of their mouth is deceitful. they're gonna fall into calamity. You can't find yourself anywhere else if all you're doing is lying. The worst thing about lies and having a dishonest tongue is that once you tell one lie, you got to tell another lie, and then you got to tell another lie, and then you got to tell another lie. Then you got to have a lie to cover up the lie that covers up the other lie. And then the problem is that those aren't even the problems, right? The problem is that you got to remember all those lies, and then you got to start living those lies. And there are some people out there who are such prolific, I guess you would say, lie tellers, that they start to believe their lies. Because you see, you got to tell yourself the lie so much that you start to believe the lie. Because the only way you can make somebody else believe the lie is if you first believe the lie, right? The person with the dishonest tongue falls into calamity because it's like a cascade. It's like a snowball. It's like you're at the top of a snowy mountain, and that first lie is just a little old small snowball, but then it just starts rolling down this hill, and before you know it, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's about to just run you over. Right? People get caught up in lies all the time. Relationships end because of it. People go to jail because of it. People perjure because of it. Like there's so many different things that come from a from a dishonest tongue. And dishonest tongue isn't 100% just a lying tongue, because a person can avoid telling a lie and still be dishonest, right? A person can avoid literally answering the question that you ask them and still be dishonest in the answer that they do give you by omitting information. We have this talk with our kids all the time. You know, we like the omission of information does not change it from being a deceitful response, right? Matter of fact, when you omit information, it's to me in our house, it's the same as a lie, right? Omitting information and lying, they go hand in hand for us. It's still deceitful. You still got to remember that you omitted something. And it's the craziest thing is when your kid omits some information that they then come back 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months down the road, and they tell it to you in conversation, as if it was like, oh yeah, I've been told you about that. No, you didn't. Last time you told me you didn't go there. You get what I'm saying? Now you're telling me all that time I went there and I only stayed for 5 minutes, and then down the road is all that time I went there and I only stayed there for an hour. All that time I went there and only stayed there for, it's like, well, now that's the calamity. So now you got some fake trust up in there. Yeah, you told the lie. I believe the lie. You had some fake trust, but then every time a little piece of that come out, the trust starts getting diminished, right? That's calamity. That is calamity. A person with a dishonest tongue, and then they wonder, oh, you don't never believe nothing I say, because you a liar, you a cheater, you a stealer. I don't thieves. You can't. If I know you steal, I ain't letting you in my house. Look, I know. Yeah, the Lord gonna have to really put it on my heart to allow the thief into my house that I know is a thief, that I'm gonna be comfortable with. You get what I'm saying? So it's always one of those ironic things that with me, because it's like when we find ourselves living in that type of world. And yesterday it said there's a way that seems right to a man, but the whole time it leads to death, right? There's a way that seems right to a man, right? When we are practicing dishonesty, or when we are operating out of a crooked heart, we can make it seem right to us. There's a way that seems right to a man. It seems right that I just told that little white lies that we tell. A lie is a lie, though, right? So it seems right. It seems to be on the right path, but the whole time it leads to death, because I got to keep telling that lie over and over and over again. And it's still a lie until I repent for it. And then when I repent for it, I gotta hope that I get forgiveness. I gotta pray that I get forgiveness. I gotta pray that my relationship goes back the same. Imagine if God treated us the way we treat others, right? I just told you I don't like a lie. I don't like a stealer. I don't like a person that steals from me, right? But imagine if God pointed out where I done stole from him, and he treated me the same way that I want to treat the person that steals from me, right? I'd be in some trouble, y'all. Imagine if, a person who ready to throw them hands at anybody who offend them. Imagine if God was ready to throw hands at them every time they offended him. We'd be in some trouble, wouldn't we? We be having brimstone and fire falling down from the sky every single day, if it worked like that. All right, verse 21. He who He who steers a fool gets himself sorrow, and the father of the fool has no joy. And in this one, it said, I think it was just talking about correction. Let me go back to verse 7, chapter 17. And we're on verse 21. So chapter 17, verse 21 right now. And y'all, I'm reading from the ESV for anybody who's curious. It says, he who begets a scoffer does so to his sorrow. Let me look up the word begets. What does the word begets mean? All right, let's see. What does it mean to beget? Okay, so it says to father or seer offspring. Historically, beget has been used to describe a man becoming the father of a child. For example, in biblical context, it's common to see phrases like Abraham begot Isaac. Okay, all right, boom, got it. Fathers. And I guess I should have known what seers mean when you sear it when because I think they use that for animals. So it says, so he who fathers a fool gets himself sorrow. That's so true. We've saw this over and over again, especially in the first nine chapters of Proverbs, where Solomon tells us over and over again that um a wise man, a wise son is an honor to his father, but a fool is a sorrow to his mother. And then in one of them, it told us that a fool despises his mother, right? And I always thought that was funny because it's like on one hand, you got a foolish person who dishonors the father, they are sorrow to the mother, right? For them to be a sorrow to the mother, that means that the mother is still mourning and sorrowful for their son, right? And that's generally how it is with women, right? Women are normally the more nurturing ones, right? They're still seeking to fix and help lifelong, right? But then that same son that the mother is worried about, that she's praying over, that she's trying to intercede for, he despises the mother the whole time. That's a big fool right there. The person who loves you dearly, who's trying to help you get right, but you despise them. But we find ourselves in those situations. I told y'all, I remember being a young man, or I remember in my late teens, my 16, 17-year old age, there was stuff that my mom said to me that I just wasn't trying to hear it. I was trying to be. I thought I was grown. And I didn't despise my mother. I didn't think I despised my mother until I started going back through here, and I was like, that was me. I despised the things that my mom used to tell me. My mom tell me, don't go here, don't do this, don't hang out with these people, don't do these type of things. Make sure that you are doing this, and this. I despised it. I wasn't trying to hear it. I ain't trying to save no money. These are my friends. These are my real friends. Like I was that kid. And this is saying that what this is saying is true. When we have kids, nobody wants their kids to be a fool, and it does bring sorrow, right? If you have if you have a child and that child is foolish, it brings you sorrow. If you are the child that is foolish, it's likely that your parents have sorrow, right? um and it says, and the father of a fool has no joy. Like, who has joy in the fact that their son is foolish, right? Or daughter, son or daughter. It's not just sons, not it's both. We're gonna move on. Verse 22. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Y'all, that's a good one. um Hold on, I gotta go back for that one to yesterday. Yesterday we learned that it said and so verse in chapter 16, verse 24 says, pleasant words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones, right? A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. So pleasant words. Remember, the heart is the spring, the mouth is the fountain. So the pleasant words came from the heart that was joyful that we just so the joyful heart is good medicine because the joyful heart is the same heart um that's giving pleasant words that we saw in chapter 16 yesterday, right? So the joyful heart is good medicine because out of the mouth is coming those uh pleasant words that are sweet, that is sweetness to the soul, right? Sweetness to the soul means that it uplifts, right? And when people say nice things to you or say nice things over you, it normally uplifts you, right? It is food to your soul. Like it can take your bad day, your bad feeling, and turn it into a good feeling, into a good day. Just one simple kind word that somebody says, right? Um, so that is very true. And health to the bones, because the better we feel, the more energy we have, right? When my heart is feeling good, I have more energy. I can do more stuff. I don't have as many aches and pains. It's crazy how our heart controls our mind, but our mind still controls the rest of our body, right? When I'm in a bad mental place, I can literally feel sick, even though I'm not sick, right? I can feel like I have flu-like symptoms based off of how my emotions are at the moment. So when it says that a crushed spirit dries up the bones, a crushed spirit does dry up the bones. When you're poor in spirit, you feel sick. Um you can feel diseased even, right? You can feel like you got the, like I said, like you got the flu. Like I've had that feeling where like I just couldn't get out of bed. I felt loss of energy, lazy, like just blah. I guess that's the best way. Like you just feel blah when you low in spirit. But a joyful heart is good medicine, because from a joyful heart comes the word's gonna come out, it's gonna be pleasant, right? When we're speaking pleasant stuff into other people, we get pleasant stuff spoke back over us. It's a reciprocating door, is what I'm saying. And keep this in mind too, right? Because that same thing with that. So if our heart is is the spring, our mouth is the fountain. That means that the same way pleasant words are uplifting and can be sweetness to the soul and health to the bones, is the same way that our negative words can be poison to the soul and can be detrimental to the bones. You get what I'm saying? So we speak life and death when we're talking to people, so we have to be careful of that. We're planting seeds. Anytime you're talking to somebody, you're planting seeds. Just what type of seeds are you planting? All right. Verse 23. The wicked accepts a bribe in secret to prevent uh, the wicked accepts a bribe in secret to pervert the ways of justice. This one, I read this, I just think politics. First thing that pops in my head is politics, right? The wicked accepts bribes in secret to pervert the ways of justice. You want to fix the outcome of something to fit one agenda over another agenda without it being fair. We learned that the Lord finds it an abomination, unfair weights. It tells us that we're supposed to use fair weights, and we're supposed to be just in our dealings, whether we're dealing with other followers or we're dealing with people who are not followers, right? We're supposed to be just on both sides. Even more so when we're dealing with followers, but we're supposed to be just on both sides. So it's not ironic that the person who's accepting bribes to do stuff behind closed doors will be a wicked person, right? I don't think I got to dig too much into that one. That one was pretty self-explanatory. 24. The discerning sets his face towards wisdom. The discerning. And I like that because somebody just said something about discernment up there. Yep, discernment using wisdom, guidance, and experience and choice. So um it says the discerning sets his face towards wisdom, but the eyes of a fool are on the ends of the earth, right? Discerning, that means we're focused, we're intentional, we're directed, right? We have a directed gaze when we are discerning it from this perspective. And when we're the discerning sets his face towards wisdom because the discerning understands that through that wisdom everything else is possible, right? The wisdom and the understanding, like I said a couple of days ago, a person can take all your money. If you have a great business idea, you put that business idea to work, you make $1 million, right? A person can literally come take your $1 million, take your invention and leave you with nothing. But because you have the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding on how you got there the first time, you can get there again the second time. And in most cases, you can get there faster the second time around because you have the wisdom already. Um, so when we are discerning, we're able to set our face towards wisdom because we understand the importance of wisdom. But the eyes of a fool are on the end of the earth because they're only worried about earthly things. The book of Ecclesiastes tell us the overall overarching theme that Solomon wrote in the book of Ecclesiastes is that if we only focus on things under the sun, it's all vanity and vexation. It's nothing, right? We're supposed to seek wisdom because it tells us that the beginning of wisdom is to fear the Lord. So for us to truly seek wisdom, we have to first have a healthy fear of the Lord, which means that our gaze is not set on the earth. We're not chasing after earthly things at that point. Once we have that, once we're in alignment with that, we understand that everything's about God. Everything's about the kingdom of God, right? I, once I know that everything's about the kingdom of God, I can seek more wisdom on how do I become a better citizen of the kingdom of God? What is my role in the kingdom of God? What does God, what are you using me for in your kingdom, right? I start to seek that as my wisdom because the more that I'm seeking that as my wisdom, the more in alignment I get with God, the more righteous I get to live, and the more righteous I get to live, the more I get to experience that Psalm 23, living in the house of the Lord forever. I want to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You get what I'm saying? So I want the wisdom. I don't want to be overly focused on the earth, living on having nice things. Well, I was talking about that earlier today. I keep on saying that, right? I did a lot of talking today, as y'all can see. But we we work hours and hours and hours. We give up so many hours of our day, right? Our most precious resource, one of our most precious resources, our time. We'll take that time, that money that they exchange for our time, and we'll go and buy a car, a nice fancy car that we can't take with us when we die. We can't. It does us no good when we're gone. We leave it to somebody who may not even care about it the same way we cared about it when we bought it, right? They might sell it. You get a whole bunch of apartment complexes, and your kids sell it when you're gone because they don't want to be landlords, right? Um, but when I'm discerning and my face is towards wisdom, I understand that from the investment standpoint, I bought that for them to use. It's their inheritance. The inheritance is for them, right? I won't get mad if they go sell it because my eyes are not on this earth. I don't care about the things of this earth. One day this stuff, one day all of this stuff will be gone, right? This house that I live in right now, 200 years from now, won't be standing here, something else will be here. So we can't be overly concerned with this world. We got to be concerned with the things that are past this world, but we can't see that sometimes if we don't have wisdom and understanding. The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is what opens our eyes to be able to see what's past this, right? It's like a kid. A kid, my son, we take him outside, he only has a limited understanding. He's never been hurt to the point where he has a fear of being hurt, if that makes sense. So for him, walking on the edge of the wall outside of our house, we got this stone wall that he likes to try to walk on because he sees his older brother doing it. He doesn't have an understanding of what it means to fall. So I'll say, hey, be careful so you don't fall. He's like, I'm not gonna fall. It's like, yeah, because you haven't failed yet, you don't have an understanding of what it means for you to fall. But once you got an understanding of what it means for you to fall, you walk different. That's what wisdom does. Once I have an understanding of what it means to do a thing, I can then approach it differently, right? Once I have an understanding that it's all about God, I can then approach life differently because now I know that it's not about me. It's not about the things I can accumulate here on this earth, right? So it's power that comes with wisdom. Verse 25, a foolish son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him. Y'all, they repeating this over and over again, right? I think I could literally go through here and print off all of the things that it says about the foolish son and what that means for the father and the mother, right? This is true. A foolish son is a grief to his father. That's true, right? Um, it's true. I don't know how else to put it. It's true. We know that. Like there's sons. There's somebody right now with a son that's sitting in jail for something that the father warned them about. The father told them don't do it. Don't hang around with these people. Don't go this. But y'all see how that's a recurring thing. Don't go here. Don't hang out with these people. Don't hang out with people who do this thing, right? And that's where that grief comes from. The grief is the grief that the foolish son is a grief to his father because this is the foolish son that avoided the instruction of his father. Because let me go back. Now I got to go back and bring up the other proverbs right here. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. My son, do not forget my laws, but let your heart keep my commandments, for lengthened days and long life and peace they will add to you. Right? Boom. So this is the son who neglected to do that, right? Verse in chapter 2, it says, my son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God, right? The same son. So the son, the foolish son that is a grief to his father and bitterness to the mother that bore him, is the same son who refused to incline the instruction that was being given to them. They refused to take the correction that was being given to them, right? They scoffed at it. That's what it said. The scoffer, the person who doesn't take anything serious, the person who only wants to do it their way because in their prime, because it's our primal nature, right? Our primal nature is I want to do it my way. Me. That's and again, my 3-year old, he wakes up. As soon as he wakes up, he say, me won't. Me won't. And for like the next hour is me want this, me want that, me want this, me want that. And it's like he can say I too. He can say I want this, but for some reason, when he's in that very primal mode, it's me. Me want French toast sticks, me want juice, me want iPad. Like that's literally how it goes, right? He's very primal with it. But some of us are still like that, but we're grown, but we still go about life with the me won't attitude. Me won't, like a caveman, right? My son like little Bam Bam from the Flintstones, me won't. He Bam Bam. But some of us are still walking around like that as full grown adults, being a scoffing son, not wanting to take correction. Look, sometimes you're gonna go home and your dad gonna tell you you're doing something wrong. Take heed to the advice. Like I tell my kids, I don't correct you. Most times the things that I am hard set on when I correct you is because I've already done it, right? Is a big difference from I've never done it and I'm trying to give you advice, or I've done what you're trying to do. I've already done that. Hey son, you ain't got to go out and get drunk and party because look, I done already done that. Let me tell you what comes from it. Uh Let's start with the hangovers. Let's start with the financial burden. Let's start with the doing stuff that you may regret because when you drunk and acting out of your unsober mind, you end up in situations that you got to pay for the rest of your life. You get what I'm saying? So it's like when I tell you don't do a thing, I'm telling you don't do the thing because I've already probably done the thing. I've either I've done the thing and have had to pay some type of consequence for it. I know someone who did the thing and had to pay a consequence for it. So I'm just trying to tell you, hey, don't make this same mistake. Why do we have to make the same mistakes that those that came before us made? We that is a sign that we are being foolish when we make the same mistakes that somebody came before us and told us about, but we still made the same mistake. It's like I say, if you're going down the road, I'm you're going up the road, I'm coming back, and I tell you that the bridge is out a mile up the road. Right? I done already gave you the warning. Hey, the bridge is out a mile up the road. You can just turn around now. I already went up there, saw that the bridge was out, and I'm on my way back to go take a detour. But some people got to still drive 120 miles per hour up that road to find out that the road is out up a mile up the road. Right? Some people gonna still keep on driving even when they get there and see that the road is out. That's the foolish person, right? I already told you that this is what's gonna happen if you continue to do what you're gonna do. That's like when people say if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're gonna end up either dead or in jail. And what do people end up? Dead or in jail, right? A lot of times. I watch those documentaries too. I watch a lot of Locked Up. I again I like hearing like the testimony of people, but most times what I've heard with people who are incarcerated, a lot of times somebody in their life was telling them that they were making bad decisions, but they chose to still make those bad decisions. In that time frame, they were being the foolish son. You get what I'm saying? Um, but like I said, with the whole strife thing, we got to stop it before it begins. Same thing for that. Like we got to become smart enough to stop some stuff before it begins, before we get ourselves caught in the trap. Let's stop one step before, right? The trap is always avoiding the trap is always one step less than what you're gonna take. So you can go walk through the I'm so sorry, y'all burping. You can go walking through the woods all fast and end up in the trap. But if you walk in and you at least watching your step, you may take one less step and not at least not end up in the bear trap. You get what I'm saying? Hope that makes sense. Verse 26. To impose a fine on a righteous man is not good, nor to strike the noble for what's for their uprightness. Again, it's saying a person who's already living righteous and upright, like why are you coming after them? Why are we coming at this is imposing a fine. You're gonna impose a fine on somebody who ain't even did nothing wrong. In Tennessee right now, they got a lot of people have been getting pulled over for DUIs to find out that they don't have a DUI. Right? They pulled over one guy. I think he was like ADHD, so he failed the field sobriety test because he got ADHD. They booked him, took him to jail. Blood alcohol content came back. He ain't had nothing to drink. He don't even drink. Right? The guy even told him that he don't drink. Um, Now they got special investigations going on. So people probably gonna get fired and all types of stuff. Right? Because they imposed a fine on somebody who was not guilty of what they imposed it on. That's what to impose a fine on a righteous man is not good. Let's not blame people for stuff that they ain't did. You know, um, and the person who's imposing the fine on the righteous person will also be that same wicked person that is lying and causing strife, right? Because the only way to impose a fine on a righteous person, you have to lie and be deceitful with that, right? um, and then nor to strike the noble for their uprightness. You're gonna strike somebody because of their goodness, right? That's like you know people will shun somebody for being a goody two shoes or for being I heard people say you're too saved. You know what I mean? It's like well I can't hang out with you because I'm too saved. It is like so you get punished because you're not wanting to partake in certain things. But on the flip side of that, sometimes that's the position we got to be okay with being in, right? Again, with that spiritual maturity, you start to learn that some people you don't even have to cut off. They're gonna cut you off first. You got to be okay with that sometimes. 27. Yeah, my mouth starting to get dry, so I am gonna be wrapping up here shortly. I think we got four more verses. So 27 says, whoever restrains his words has knowledge, Or actually, we only got one more verse. Yep. All right, 27. Whoever restrains his words have knowledge. He who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Right? Whoever holds back his tongue. Remember, we don't have to say everything that comes to our minds, right? Not everything that we what did it say yesterday? Yesterday it pretty much was saying how we can say something nice but still have bad intentions behind it. You know what I mean? Um and once it still got bad intentions behind it, it wasn't nice really, right? It was wolf in sheep clothing. It was a charlatan, if you will. So whoever restrains his words, like whoever holds back certain things, like not everything needs to be said. I don't always got to have an opinion. I don't have to engage in the argument, right? Sometimes even in this chat right here, there I can scroll back up and find at least two comments where somebody wanted to get a rise out of me. I ain't got to make a comment about it. I mean, I guess I'm commenting on it right now, but I'm not directly commenting on it. I'm not going to argue with somebody. I'm not trying to change your belief. You know what I mean? This podcast, this video is for the people who are already seeking, right? But what I'm not doing is trying to change anybody's thoughts or whatever. So when we restrain, we show that we have knowledge because we learn that we don't have to speak on everything. Our opinion isn't always needed, and it allows us to stay cool. It says, "He who has a cool spirit, chill, a person who's pretty relaxed, I ain't got to get all worked up, is a man of understanding." So this is a person who not only has knowledge, is we got knowledge when we restrain our words, but when we restrain our words and we don't get offended, then we got understanding, right? That's the difference, right? My knowledge will keep me quiet, but I can still be quiet and be offended. I can still be quiet and be sitting over there like when where I'm just shaking on the inside, ready to pop. I'm just biting my tongue, as they say, right? That's what it means when you bite your tongue. That means that you had to forcefully keep your mouth closed. I had to fight against my urges to speak out and say something or to speak out in offense. That's what it means when I restrain my words. But the cool spirited person has understanding because they don't even feel the urge to make a like not only do I not have feel the need that I have to say something, I'm not even offended. I'm not even bothered or phased by it, right? That's the cool spirited person. Y'all know somebody like that. Y'all got you know at least one person that just pretty chill and go with the flow. I'm not talking about the person who don't care about nothing. I'm talking about the person who don't feel like they gotta engage in everything, right? Verse 28. Verse 28 says, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. So this goes right on with 27, right? When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. Even the fool. So let's go back to 25, right? That foolish son. So it says a foolish son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him, right? So that same foolish son, if he learns to keep his mouth shut, not say everything that come to his mind. Somebody, y'all know at least one person say everything that come to their mind, and half the stuff they come to their mind is stupid, right? And you wonder why does Chad always got to say every stupid idea that come to his mind? You know, we used to say there's no such thing as a stupid question. There are stupid questions. There are 100% stupid questions. There's stupid comments. Okay, sometimes depending on what we're talking about, there are stupid ideas. Don't come up with an idea that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That makes it a stupid idea, right? Sometimes foolish people just have stupid stuff to say, right? This is saying that even the fool, the person who you know who normally always got something stupid to say, when they keep their mouth closed, they can be considered wise. They can go into another room, keep their mouth closed, and somebody look at them and say, that guy over there look pretty smart. He the biggest fool in here, but because he ain't opening his mouth, nobody knows. It's not until they start blah 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 that you like, oh, he don't even know what he's talking about, right? So you could be, he is deemed intelligent until he open his mouth. All we gotta do is close our lips sometimes. We want to seem smarter, close your mouth sometimes. Don't even say mm-hmm. Just close your mouth. Be a mute. we'll come off more intelligent sometimes. That's pretty crazy, but it's true, right? Ever been in a situation where being quiet was better off? You ever been in a situation where you wanted to say something, but somebody else said what you were gonna say first, and they got the heat, and you're sitting back looking like, "Ooh, I'm glad I didn't say that because I was about to say the same thing. I was about to be like, when we going to lunch, and then the sergeant said, "Who said when we going to lunch? Go outside and do blah blah blah." Now he not going to lunch, and I'm glad I sit here and didn't say nothing because I'm going to lunch on time. You get what I'm saying? Again, don't know if that's a good example, but that's the best example that just popped up in my head. Sometimes it's worth being quiet and shutting up. All right. And on the note of shutting up, that was the last verse of this chapter, chapter 17. So think about this. How do I make sure that I have peace over prosperity? Right? It says, we go back to the very first thing that this said was it's better. 17 verse 1. Better is a dry morsel with quietness than a house full of feasting with strife, right? How do I have more peace over prosperity? Sometimes the prosperity, they say more money, more problems. Sometimes that's true, right? More stuff, more problems. Sometimes it ain't just the money, it's more stuff, more problems, more people, more problems. You get what I'm saying? How do I make sure that I have that godly peace, right? Because I rather it said it was better for us to eat herbs with love than to feast where there's hate, right? So I would much rather have peace over prosperity. I much rather have peace than be eating good around some people I don't like because the food don't even taste good when it's around people that I don't like, right? Um, the other thing is make sure that you keep in mind that your speech matters, right? The things that come out of our mouth matter, and they matter for multiple reasons. One, the stuff that we say have power over others. They can help to build people up the same way it can tear people down, right? Secondly, it shows our heart posture. So the things that come out of our mouth and the things that we do shows what's going on in the inside. If you're ever curious about how a person truly is, watch the things they do. Watch the things they say, not just the things they say in public either. Everything that they say, right? So our speech matters. Sometimes our speech matters so much that we should just shut up and close our mouth, right? So hopefully chapter 17 was good to you guys. Again, if you have not seen the other 16 chapters, I am still getting them all uploaded, but some of them are on my TikTok channel and on my YouTube channel. If you don't have the YouTube channel, let me know and I'll drop it in the comments or I'll add it onto my profile or something because I'm still getting more familiar with this. But um, we've been going over the difference between wisdom and foolishness. And the biggest thing that I've noticed is that foolishness is easy to fall into. Wisdom requires work. Wisdom requires intention. And wisdom requires us to actually do something. Foolishness really doesn't require us to do anything. When we read all the different things that it talks about with foolishness, it's easy for us to run our mouth. It's easy for us to gossip. All I'm doing is repeating stuff I already heard. But the wisdom comes in with us being able to take control of that, right? And that all requires action. Remember that there's knowledge, and with that knowledge, we are to get understanding. Once we have the knowledge and the understanding that we can put into practical use, we then have the wisdom. Okay. So with all of your seeking of knowledge this week, seek some understanding. And with all that understanding, get some wisdom and then put that wisdom to use in your life. Okay. This week, try to find at least one time that you just keep your mouth closed. Don't say nothing. Try to find at least one time that you can say something positive and uplifting to somebody that can help to propel their life forward, right? And seek to not be a fool. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna pray us out, and then I will be getting off. So, Lord God, I thank you. I thank you for bringing all these individuals on today, Lord, for chapter 17 of Proverbs. Lord, I pray that something that was said here resonate with at least with everyone, Lord. I pray that seeds of your word was planted, Lord, and that it begins to take root in all of us. Lord, I pray that these words will not go void in our minds, Lord, that we will not let them go in one ear and out the other, Lord, that we will actually start to practically implement them into our day-to-day lives, Lord. The next time that we find ourselves in a heated situation, Lord, I pray that you will bring to our remembrance that Proverbs calls for us to be slow to anger. Lord, the next time we find ourselves facing temptation, I pray that you will bring it to our understanding and to our remembrance, Lord, that we have power over that temptation, and we do not have to be slave to it. Lord, we thank you for continuing to increase our knowledge and our understanding, our wisdom. And Lord, we eagerly await more wisdom because we want to be the wise, and the wise seek after wisdom. So we will continue to seek that wisdom as well. I thank you and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all. Apparently I need to go blow my nose and some more stuff. So I am gonna get off. But I want to thank you guys for getting on. Like I told you guys, the more that I do these, the more that I learn too. So I thank you guys for helping me to get better. And I pray that each and every one of you guys took something from this. And I look forward to catching you guys the next time. So I'm gonna say peace out and make sure you hit that follow button so you can get notified when I go live because my lives are very sporadic. All right, peace. Hold on.